Hi, field lovers and mayhem enjoyers. Today I have a very special guest with me, the creator of the Electric Hamster Races himself, Hamster Adam. Now, I've mentioned the hamster races quite a lot in my writing, and they're basically what they say on the tin. Toy electric hamsters racing around a homemade track. What makes it truly special is the amazing job Adam and the hamster crew do when they're comparing it. So, first thing I'm interested in, how did you start? Like, when did you have the original idea and who was involved?
Well, Tim, it was a good few years ago, and late night idea just before Christmas. I'd bought a couple of the hamsters just for presents for the family for my daughter, and I was just wrapping them up, had them on the table. I just liked the motion of the hamsters just running across the table. They looked quite funny, and thought I'd build a little tiny track for the family just for Christmas afternoon and entertainment. But of course, it got out of hand a little bit, and the track ended up being big enough to put over a pool table, and started off as a pub sport, really.
Was it ready in time for that first Christmas?
Yes, it was. Yes, yeah, we did have some fun with it. Yeah, and it was probably January after that that I approached the first couple of pubs, and two out of three said yes, they would have a hamster evening. So yeah, and went from there really.
Do you still do pubs?
Do now and again, especially if it's a good local fundraiser. But I really feel like the festival fields are my home. It's been the last 12 years or so that Emma and I have been getting out to the festivals as Willow Phoenix and Hamster Racing. And yeah, I think we found our tribe. Um, and the most appreciative audiences as well, I think. And also the fact we're here there for the whole weekend, so we can really build the story up, build the tension up for those Sunday finals.
You mentioned the story, right? The Electric Hamster Races, did they have has the plot grown over the years? And do you try hard to keep it consistent?
Well, it's been organic, really, I would say, because it started off with me shouting about hamsters on my own. Other people have joined in. The story's developed. We've had now, we have now with Emily, the hamster liaison officer, hamster welfare. She's part hamster, identifies as hamster. We've had to move with the times, Tim, as well. Diversity.
Hmm.
Uh, for the first few years, especially with the pub years, it was a very male-dominated sport, I'd say. But now, since last few years really, and with the help of Maui and the Maui crew and the Maui family, really, we've helped them all the hamsters express themselves, I suppose.
It's very
And
odd
so
to think of hamsters as a male-dominated sport, given its current position.
it is odd, really. It just kind of happened that way. I think partly with the naming of the hamsters. Hilly was is still the grand old lady of the sport who inspired the whole sport of electric hamster racing. And that came from buying a hamster for my daughter, who was only young at the time. She wanted a real hamster. The electric hamster was a training hamster just to see how well she got on looking after that. And then she had a real hamster who was called Hilly. Hilly sadly hasn't lasted anywhere near as long as the racing hamsters, but still races on in her namesake.
Mhm.
So yeah, nice to have a bit of continuity there.
So I've heard
But,
about you're a member of the International Federation of Rodent Sports, correct?
we have to be according to the rules. Obviously, hamster racing is just one small part of the whole gamut of rodent sports, going from the very tiny shrew wrestling all the way up to the larger, much larger capybara dressage. I think I've explained before that that's just too expensive up that top end of the sport. And shrews are just a bit too small and a bit ferocious as well, but a bit too small to have as a spectator sport.
Were you
So we've settled
considering
on.
introducing gerbil squeezing?
Oh, how do you know about gerbil squeezing? Nobody was supposed to know about that one. Well, it's only something we've heard of this year, or this last year now. Maui, of course, at the first time we heard of it. It lays somewhere just between squirrel sumo and hamsters. And I've heard also, because I was a bit worried at first, it sounds a bit brutal, but apparently it's an artistic sport, an aesthetic one, similar to the ribbon twirling at the Olympics. So
Like figure
yes,
skating.
we've been in contact with the Gerbil Squeezing Association, and we'd like to get hold of them for the March the 8th show. So we'll see how it goes, but I don't want to pin any hopes on it. I don't want to get anyone excited about gerbil squeezing um, if it's not actually going to happen. So also any gerbil squeezers, any semi-professional gerbil squeezers, if you've got your own gerbil, obviously, I think that's in the rules actually that you train with your own gerbil. Um, get in touch with us. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But for now, it's pretty much down to the hamster racing. Um, the big one is the story of hamster racing at the Hippodrome this year in Great Yarmouth. Great venue, amazing place to be. Can't believe it, really. So, going to do the full story of hamster racing with hamsters and singing and dancing, and then a good old after party as well at the
Was it?
Empire. So
Why is it
that's
that
my
you call? Why do you call your after parties shrugs?
Oh, the Shrugs. Cool. It started a few years ago. It was one of the secret late night races at Maui, I think. And we just said, cool, this is a secret underground, secret hamster racing underground gathering, and or shrug. So then it became the Shrug. Any shrug is an underground gathering. And yeah, so an after shrug is the after meeting for the show. So yeah, it's one of those things. The secret race and the shrugs.
So I've got a
And it's
couple of
something to play.
quick fire rules questions for the real hamster nerds out there.
Okay, yep, yep. Because you know the governing body. Yes, sorry, yeah, I went off on a tangent there. But the governing body, FIRR, for Federation Internationale de Rod Racing Rodentico,
Mhm.
and that covers all the sports. So we're quite strictly bound by those rules.
The international
Um,
rules.
but European, they're international. It's European. It's very wordy. The website, the rules just go on and on. We're more kind of the human face of hamsters.
So
We
specifically,
haven't.
when a hamster gets stuck, what warrants the use of the grabber?
Ah, right. Or the hamprongulator.
The ham
Yes.
promulator, yeah.
Um, it's often asked. The hamsters, as you know, is still a very experimental sport. We can't quite explain it. You would think all the hamsters would run at the same speed, but you know, different variations on the day, just changing vibration can really make a difference. Um, so if they do get stuck or have a bit of trouble, we'll give them a few seconds just to see if they can clear themselves. But if not, we'll have to bring in either myself or one of the crew, bring in obviously trained people only, to use the hand prongulator. It's there again, the technology has evolved over time. We had an old one, I think Edwardian or Victorian, looked a little bit brutal. Whereas the new one, it's got all sorts of, well, it's 3 or 4 different things you can do with it. So, and most of all, very humane.
Of course, that's critical. So if multiple hamsters are getting stuck at the same time, which hamster gets the ham promulator first?
Oh, you're getting really technical now. Well, it would be in order of, I was going to say blockage, but there is a term. There's a term for it. I haven't read up on my rules recently. It is winter time. I'll brush up before the summer for sure. But it might be called an obstreperance or something. And it's in order of those. So yeah, it was supposed to be. You know what it can be like on a
Mm.
festival day.
Yeah.
Um,
No, and then
but to
I've got to
by
go on
book.
to batteries. All hamsters get fresh batteries every race, right?
Oh, now, well, batteries, interesting thing. I used to insist on Duracell batteries.
Mm.
But since looking into that, found they're not necessarily the best ones. But I do insist on alkaline batteries, and I suggest alkaline batteries for anybody for any battery thing. those horrible zinc chlorides might seem cheaper, but they run out quickly. They're not good for your equipment, and although the price may be cheaper, might seem half the price, they're actually twice the cost, really, because you'll end up buying loads more. And the methods made, sorry, I'm going off on one now, but the methods made to make them and dispose of them are pretty horrendous. So definitely alkaline batteries.
That
And we
surprises me.
use,
I would have thought the hamsters would be on lithium by now.
well, no, I don't know. I think that's probably for probably for the crew, I reckon, and probably some of the audience. We've thought about lithium batteries when we looked into them when they first came out, and they were saying they were something like lasted 7 times longer
Hmm.
than a Duracell, which in turn lasts 6 times longer than a zinc chloride. You're into whatever 42 times,
Hmm.
and we didn't have the time to test it out, to be honest. So I thought about introducing lithium trials through the summer, just one special race, and we will use the same lithium batteries over the summer and
So would
take
you have a dedicated track for this?
and no, we'd race it on standard track, but we keep an aggregate of all the times over the summer, so we could publish them at the end. Well, just in time for Christmas, actually, so you can have some nice. Make sure you got top-notch batteries in your toys for your presents. So it's always public service out there as well.
Hmm. So my final technical rules question is to do with secret hamster racing, right? Are there any differences? I know, I'm sorry, security might find out.
Yeah, we're all right. We're safe.
So are there any rules differences in the hamsters? Or is it the same sport? Just shh.
Oh, that's a tricky one. It's because the secret is anyone who's been to a secret late night hamster race knows that there's kind of more than just the racing. Um, I've always thought, and since discovered festivals and lovely festival people, and festival brains on holiday during a festival. Best place for original ideas, original thinkers, out of the box thinkers, and just such a great place to get everyone together and exchange ideas and energy.
It
So
is,
I love that.
they are very
Love
special.
that
It's
opportunity.
the way that it's like the hub of the festival after everything else is finished. Because it's secret, you can get away with it.
There's been kind of combination of luck really, and not wanting to turn it into a stage as such with big sound system. So we've always kept it fairly quiet,
Hmm.
fairly acoustic, apart from me shouting on my megaphone. But even then, on the late night ones, I switched to my indoor voice. And we've only ever been closed down, I think, at Maui one time. But it is quite entertaining. I think we've got it on film as well. So, um, but generally, yeah, I think it works well for the festival as well. Sometimes just that little kind of calming down bit for people. You know, people drift back to the campsite, and we're there for a bit of extra silly entertainment, which just kind of carries on under its own steam, really, and fizzles out when it does. But yeah, it can be a nice and quite surreal way to end the day,
Do you
and you
th-
might win a prize.
do you think it's part of why you've built such a good community around the hamsters?
I would say it's definitely got something to do with it. If we were like a quick fire kind of stall, like sort of hoopla, or I always think of the Kentucky Derby, the Camel Derby on the seafront, that kind of thing. If it's something like that where you just play one thing, you win a prize or don't, yes. But I think it's more than that because I think the innate silliness of it, for a start, attracts certain people.
Hmm.
When you get a certain amount of silly people together, that's kind of critical mass, isn't it, for some real silliness? So the hamsters are a great kind of comedy vehicle, really, as it were, and it gives people permission to be a bit silly as well. And generally, we're very lucky, especially at Maui, we get some nice get a nice area to play around in, and yeah, all in all, I think it's a nice, unusual addition to a festival, and probably not something that you just pluck out of the air. until you'd actually seen it and
Mm.
see it happen.
So,
So
was there, have you always had a group of people who had like gone along with the hamsters and surrounded it and like been together with the festival crew? Or did you start out more on your own?
it started out. It's always been. I've always said it was like a 1.5 person job,
Mm.
really. With the pub races, especially, you need an unstable lad or unstable person to work with the hamsters. And so we kind of set it up. I've had various friends who have come out with me and done it over the years at the pubs and clubs. And then with the festivals, there again, it kind of just grew organically. It started off just 2 or 3 people, and now it's grown, depending on the event. But we're getting asked to do bigger and bigger events now, and so yeah, so there's a few of us now, luckily.
Yeah, I don't know if this is able to go on the air yet, but you were talking about Boomtown, weren't you?
We've mentioned it, yeah. We've Em and I have been to Boomtown a few years in the last years, and we've ended up doing big craft areas, and in the village, Whistler's Green, and then the villages. Um, and I'm not sure. I don't know if the hamsters are kind of big enough in scale uh,
Mhm.
and how it would work at Boomtown. Boomtown's such a big place. There's so much to do anyway. Um, but we've definitely got a kind of option there. So we're having a think. The big one for us is, well, the first one really, the big one of the year is in Great Yarmouth, the Out There Festival.
Mm.
It's going to be very big this year. The special 25-year celebration. They're opening an ice house, so it means the whole town from the beach to the river is going to be pretty full on. Hamsters are going to be there. I think we're going to be next to the minuscule sound. So
What days are you going to be there?
definitely the Friday and Saturday. The festival's on all week. I think it starts kind of Monday, Tuesday with street art and stuff going on in the marketplace, and then full on for the Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Just for my
So
listeners, do you know the dates?
it's end of May, not the very end of May. So I think it's the 28th. The 28th figures there. It's around that time, but there's plenty of stuff on the Out There website or what's
So
on in Yarmouth. But
with
it's home turf. It's nice.
with the races
It,
in general, like the people who win generally get a prize of some kind. The people who get the backing winning hamsters ticket. Have you ever done cash bets, or do you think that'll end too badly?
it's not so much that it's just gambling rules and things. I looked into it originally, and it would involve like having an official from the gaming board to come and invigilate things like that. We've found that if it's low stakes and it's for prizes, as long as it doesn't, as long as it's just a pound or two, um, that's fine. It's similar to raffles and
Yeah.
bingos in pubs. It's that sort of thing, small scale. We try to race for prizes because it makes it a bit more fun.
Mm.
And since, well, with Maui as well, we tried to cut down on the betting by doing a wristband for a fiver, which gives you free bets for the whole weekend and the chance to win a Maui ticket or two on the Sunday final.
So the
Um,
free bets for the whole weekend, you bet on the hamster, and it, you can bet on all the hamsters because you've got free bets.
you've got free bets. You can bet on one hamster per race, but there's a few race events over the weekend, culminating in the final. And at the Secret Hamster Race as well, you win tickets. So through the festival with Maui particularly, through the festival, um, from the Thursday really through to the Sunday, uh, if your hamster wins, you can come in, have your free bet with your wristband. If your hamster wins that round, then you get a ticket to come and play the final. You can collect those tickets. We had somebody who came in; they'd been to every race, and had about 5 or 6 bets on that final. yeah, it's just something. And also, we tend to collect a few sponsors' prizes and some extra things around the field over the weekend, and that helps as well. So we had Cloud9 were pretty good with their a meal for two and all sorts of things really.
Do you have a favorite racing hamster?
Or it's hard to say. Don't like to have
I
favourites,
mean,
but
I absolutely do. Like Bouncing Bob all the way, Suffolk hometown hero.
yeah, well, yeah, there's been a lot of action for him. It's really interesting because I found kind of the ones that we all concentrate on. Bouncy Bob gets a lot of mention because of Suffolk Championship. Nippy Norman was
Mm.
Norfolk champion for a long time, undisputed. But it was the Hamsteravaganza at the Empire in November when Sunflower Sid took the title
Mm.
with his eye as well. I was surprised after that eye operation. We were worried. So yeah, so I don't know, and Flash Harry as well, Essex champion, undisputed at the moment, mainly because we haven't managed to get back down that way for a while. But and it seems to be some of them messing about with a few AI songs for the hamsters for the Hamsteravaganza. And there was a song where Sunflower Sid gets mentioned. I played it quite a lot before the Hamsteravaganza, and Sunflower Sid number 3 won it. So I don't know. What is it?
I'm not
You tell me.
sure. Hamster magic.
People ask me if the hamsters are real, and they are while they're racing and while everybody's involved. Then they're in there. I think everybody's there, and we've made that thing between us with our imagination, and we've manifested that between us in a fun way. So I like that bit.
Mm. It must be quite sad to put them all back in the box at the end of the night.
It's a little bit, yeah, yeah. After the rounding them up, obviously, because they can go a bit astray after a race,
Mm.
especially separations.
Bouncing Bob in Ed Sheeran's tunnels. That was a nightmare, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, we've had, yes, yeah, we've had them get wedged before. We've had all sorts of things. One of the early Maui's, one of the hamsters went out for celebrations into the campsite for a day or so, but came back later. So it's been an adventure. So. But yeah, they do have a bit of a life of their own once they're actually out there and running, and then yeah, back in the box.
So what why
Don't
do
even know
you
if they're in the box when they're there. It could be like Schrodinger's hamsters, couldn't it? I mean,
why do you keep doing it? Like why do you keep running the electric hamsters?
oh, that's a question. I don't know. Can't stop. I reckon no. Um, I don't know. I've always found it as a good little outlet for my general kind of. I've always been making things. I've always been creative. Used to do graphic art previous life. And then since meeting Em and doing the willow stuff, we've made all sorts of willow sculptures and those sort of things. This is something, it's always been just that fluffy escape valve. And I've heard other people mention exactly that, that it's just a little bit of silly escapism and and a chance to mess about. But
Yeah, I was going to ask what it meant to be in the hamster crew for people.
yeah, well, I don't really know. I mean, we get out to some nice places. Maui, of course. Silas is very generous. The hamster crew. And but of course we try to keep it running. We don't have races all the time, but the marquee's always open and there's always a welcome there and a bit of music on and some hamster chat. And I think also just gives people a little place to play and experiment a bit as well. And some of the things that we come up with in the silly games are just we develop them as we go, and they just happen.
Mm.
And you can't get that without having people there. Otherwise, you're just on your own, just whittering to yourself, and you just look mad.
So, I've
So
heard you
yeah.
allude to imaginary hamsters before and the problems they cause. Would you be willing to dive into that a bit?
Well, I can a bit, yes. Obviously, hamsters. Well, I've found I ended up a few years ago got a diagnosis of bipolar, which I'm quite happy with. I can work with. The the festivals and hamster racing are a good outlet for my mania, and I now just accept my couple of down days, and I just don't beat myself up anymore about it, really. And I think that's the secret to it. But so imaginary hamsters, yes. I've always thought that the difference between an imaginary hamster is fine. Invisible hamsters could be dangerous. There's all sorts of things. They could cause accidents. They could get caught behind things, and you'd never find them. So I tend to steer away from it. I'm always asked if the hamsters are real, and I have to say, well, they're not imaginary. Um, but of course, they're not live because that would be cruel, and they're not dead because that would be macabre. And I have had dead hamsters offered to me before at festivals from over-keen taxidermists who'd like to see one racing around the track. There's always somebody comes up, I've got hamsters in my freezer.
You could do undead hamster racing.
Yeah, I mean, zombie hamster racing. There's
Halloween.
There's robo hamsters. There's potential, isn't there? If I can get some sponsorship for this summer or this season, we'll see what exciting developments there are going to be. We are going to have a lovely meeting at the Mayfair in Bungay, Mayfair Cocktail Bar, as you know. Great venue, and it won't be a late one for anyone, not like the last hamster do, but a little bit of hamster racing. We're having a charity art and craft auction, 50-50 one, 50-50 fundraiser. So for any people out there, we know you're very arty and crafty. If you want to put something in, and we'll see how it can go. But
what dates was this again?
Well, the big show is March the 8th, but the launch kind of thing and shrug meeting in Silas's very swanky Mayfair bunker is on the 8th of February. Okay, so not long. It starts at 5, ends about 9. We'll have a little extra meeting afterwards for some show plans, but it's a good way to gather us all together and see if we can start really putting the advertising out as well for that stage show.
One thing I've been wondering, right, is do electric hamsters have souls? Because you've said they're not dead.
Yeah, philosophical one. It's a tricky one. It's really one of those conversations for a late night secret hamster race, isn't it? But I've been having a proper think about that as well, because it depends, doesn't it, really, where our souls come from and how they're generated and kept going. So if it's a belief system, a lot of people kind of believe in the hamsters and they believe they're real when they're shouting for them. So maybe they are. Maybe they phase in and out of dimensions. Who knows?
I've heard rumors your resident mad scientist, Dr. Damo, is come up with something.
Oh, well, I've had little patchy bits of information from him because we're both in the countryside. Comms aren't very good. He can be a little bit vague, especially late at night. But I know he is building something big. We're not going to know what it is really. Probably on the February the 8th, we will find out a lot more. But I worry about him a bit because he is, he just stares danger in the face, and he will go for it. He's got a gung-ho attitude. And he's been buoyed up a little bit, I think, by that recent success with the transplant, with the eye transplant for
sunflower seed, yeah.
So I don't want to encourage him, but I don't want to dissuade him. So I'm just leaving him to his own things. But I will be sure to let you know as the exclusive news channel for any hamster shenanigans. Tim, I will let you know as soon as I know.
So do you think the eye operation is what led to Sunflower Sid doing so well in the Norfolk Championship?
Well, I'd say it boosted his confidence a little bit. In the same way Flash Harry's wig. Sorry, he's not here now. But in the same way it boosts, I believe. I think also it did. There's a possibility it's unbalanced him a tiny bit, but I think Dr. Damo's assured me that it's the very lightest weight, most up to date modern space stuff, I think. So yeah.
Highest tech
So,
polystyrene around.
but I would say it gave him more confidence and stereo vision, I suppose.
Which is important when you're racing.
I would have thought so. Yeah.
So finally getting off the topic of hamsters, is it
Yes.
true you once hit up 23 festivals in 1 year?
I think it was, yeah, between two. I think it might have been 21, and our friend Pirate Steve squeaked in 23, and we didn't think it was possible. But one was very cold at the beginning of the summer, I think, and one was very wet at the end. But yeah, 21 was our peak, I think, and we both decided really we should pace ourselves. Maybe we got a bit overexcited that year.
Yeah, no, my personal best is 14 and it absolutely exhausted me.
Yes, yeah, it's. I think that was the year we came up with the. We worked out we'd been working a 9 day weekend between us for the whole summer, and that's when we worked out the 9 day weekend system, which we still use, and I'd still advise for any festival goers as a way to pace yourself. Um, just consider the days from Thursday to Monday as a day. A normal day is when you wake up, but only till the sun goes down. And then your bonus day starts when the sun goes down, and it ends when you go to bed, naturally. So you choose your own bedtime because you're at a festival. When you wake up, it will be the next day in the 9 day weekend. We ended up printing out a load of flyers when we were doing some willow projects down at Glastonbury one time, and we gave out our lucky twigs, little willow cuttings with the instructions. And as a thank you, we gave away our 9 day weekend system.
Mhm.
Um, and it is quite a good way. It gives you 9 days, as I say, between Thursday and Monday. And Satursun, of course, Maui Satursun, longest Satursun of the year,
Mm.
which runs between sundown on Saturday, standard Earth time, and Sunday when you wake up on the Sunday. So Satursun, and it's always a long one at Maui. And I think Silas planned it that way
Mm.
for the longest Satursun of the year, which is very considerate. Thank you, Silas.
I mean, I feel like the hamsters do add quite a lot to the length of that Satursun.
They do, yeah. The Satursun secret race, yeah. I think the longest was an all-night one. We didn't actually get closed down by security. We always expect it to, later on in the evening, but it didn't happen. And I think we carried on till kind of 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock the next morning. It wasn't a good idea, really, and I was going against my own advice of the 9 day weekend there.
Yeah, no, the championship on Sunday must have been a bit of a challenge.
A little bit, yes, yes, yeah. I think the secret races are kind of variable length time anyway. There've been some short ones. There've been some that go on and on. It just depends. Depends how long it takes to get everybody shushed down and secret, and then how long the preamble is, or pre-ramble, which can be quite a long time. And then any crowd questions, of course, we've gathered over the weekend. Um, so
So
that can all time.
if someone wants to set up their own, I'm going to call it a sideshow, but it's a bit more than a sideshow now. Like, but if they want to go into like doing something similar to the hamsters at festivals, how would you suggest they get started? Because I would have thought the real difficulty is getting in contact with organizers and convincing them it's something they want.
Yes, yeah, it is really tricky, and of course, it's really there's so much competition. Tricky one to say because I would say have the idea, make it look really good. Definitely go for something individual if you can, or if it's not, if there are other things of a similar type, just make it quirkier or just more interesting, or just have two or three unique points, and also decide what style of what kind of festival you want to go for as well. There's so many different types. Are you going for a music festival or a wellness or a depending on what where you want to be, you're going to be spending a lot of time there if you're working a lot of festivals. And so, you want something that energizes you at the end rather than depleting you and wearing you out. So, because you've got to pace yourself once again and keep going for a whole summer. Um, and then the rest is just contacts. I think it's festivals that you know and you love and you've been to, and you know and have met organisers and people on the crew, people who go to other festivals and give good reports back, speaking to people like yourself, who know the scene. And looking out on the various sites where they're looking for putting shout outs for festival crew and for events and sideshows. Some of the bigger festivals will pay some money to help you if you're doing some sort of art installation or some kind of thing. And yeah, I think just remaining adaptable as well. Don't go for anything too fixed in your mind because it's always going to evolve.
So now I'm worried Silas is listening in because I'm going to ask you, is Maui your favorite?
Oh, there again, I'd say a favourite, but quite easy really to say with Maui. Yeah, it's really all the different festivals have different flavours, and they're all good for different things. But I think Maui has got something that no other or not many other festivals have. That lovely sense of kind of festival family.
Mm.
Everybody does feel like they own a little bit of Maui. It's the one that we all push all through the summer when people ask us what our favourite ones are. So I don't think I wouldn't want Maui to compete with the big festivals. I think there's so many different things there and so many interesting people, and none of us really mind what bands we're seeing. To be honest, it can be a lovely voyage of discovery. It's always an eclectic mix at Maui. It started off with the electro swing. The thing we liked about electro swing is you could mix it with anything. And when we discovered, like electro grunge swing and stuff at Maui, so I think put it out there to as many bands and as many interesting, characterful bands as you can,
Mm.
and get them in
Yeah.
rather than going for the big headliners that just suck all your budget.
So
And you could
from
be
from the
more
other
creative.
side, are there any big festivals you particularly get on with from like a vibes point of view?
Well, always loved the idea of Boomtown and just the intricacy of it, really, just the detail
Yeah.
of Boomtown.
You say
Uh,
you love the idea, but is the reality really as much as the idea?
well, yeah, the reality is it's heavy going if you're working there because it's
Mm.
such a long way between places and all up and down hills. You've got such a huge amount of people, and just the way it's gone from the largest independent festival to now having to take some help from Festival Republic. I just worry about its future, really. I feel like I worry about its soul, to be
Yeah.
honest.
No, I think a
Uh,
lot of people share your worries there.
yeah, and all the more reason to support the smaller independent festivals and keep it going because otherwise we're going to end up with a very sterilized kind of modular kind of festival
Mm.
offering that we're given by, the bigger companies who are owned by bigger companies and bigger companies. And it's sucking out up our culture a little bit, maybe stripping it down, repackaging it, selling it back to us. Whereas the real grassroots stuff is, much wider ranging and much more inspiring.
Mm. Yeah, no, something like Maui is, well, I guess Boomtown still has some magic, but like as viewers of my channel will soon find out when my Boomtown video drops. But somewhere like Maui or Equinox up north, it's just like the freedom of it is wonderful.
Yeah, that's it. And the fact that people arrive they're expecting to make their own entertainment
Mm.
as much as anything else, and it's almost like it's a big adventure playground set up for everybody, and then we play amongst it, which is the nice thing about Boomtown as well. Um, but I feel like Boomtown's a huge city with little towns around, and there's great little spots all over the place, like there would be. Maui's more like an amazing town with little villages around,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, and just much more fun. Everybody knows each other through at least probably 2 degrees of separation at most. I
Yeah,
reckon.
no, I
Uh,
I think it's rare you meet someone at Maui who isn't 1 degree of separation away from you.
yeah, yeah, that's it. And it's become such a, it's 10 years now, 11 years. So it's not a fly by night thing. So it's down to all of us to keep it going.
Mm.
And I think this year's going to be a really good one.
I'm looking
Looking forward.
forward to it. So my final question, right? If you were in charge of your own event and could pick anyone for your lineup, living or dead, who would be performing?
Oh, oh, that's a tricky one. That is a really tricky one. Oh, yeah, cool. I don't know. See, there's so many really. Like Chemical Brothers
Mhm.
for like good show, but then I don't know. It's a really tricky one. I would probably go with Chemical Brothers actually, or yeah, I don't know. Hard to say. Or just an amazing collection, from just the DJs that were at the Empire. Probably three-quarters of those I hadn't heard before
Mm.
with Skinsey's Void Crew,
Yeah.
and I could listen to them all night. So it's a really hard one to say. I'll have a work on a top 10 or a top 5 lineup. I reckon a
Okay.
Satursun line. I'll work on a Satursun lineup. Right.
Thanks, Adam. It's been a real pleasure having you on the podcast. It's just so
Oh,
nice
thanks.
to talk to someone with such interesting ideas, you know? Like I chat to a lot of like festival organizers who are kind of stuck in the festival. Like that's the big thing. They're thinking of the big picture, and it's nice to just see the detail.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean. I wouldn't want to be running a big festival myself. It's an awful lot of admin and a lot of dealing with a lot of people. It's much nicer to be a supplier and just get contracted in and enjoy it while we're there. But if you can handle both sides of it, then you can work it well. But yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and lovely to get it out to all the hamster people out there who've supported us and joined in.
So just to
And
remind the
really happy
audience,
with it.
when are our next races? We've got one coming up on the 8th of February. Then there's one coming up in March, isn't there?
That is the big one. That's my kind of, yeah, it's a one night only, once in a lifetime. It was just going to be hamster racing at the Hippodrome, but it's a very big space to fill, and it's such a beautiful place, and the lighting and the sound there. So it's now evolved into a show, the incredible but true history of hamster racing with a touch of gerbil, and £10 a ticket. The tickets should be on sale at the Hippodrome box office, and followed by a stonking after party with the Good Fund at the Empire, and the Void DJs are back again. So I think it runs all together 7 o'clock for the show, 7 till 10 at the circus. And then we'll make our way down the seafront to the Empire and carry on there till about 4 o'clock in the morning.
You've got artwork coming as well, haven't you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I forgot to say. Yeah, artwork, Psychedelic Kaylee Band. They're going to be in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ali Morningstar, hopefully, as well. Tangles, as well, another one of our favourites. Couple of DJs to be announced who are actually in the show, and everyone's coming back to the Empire for the after shrug. And I believe there's going to be an after shrug underneath the Empire in the void until about 4 o'clock. So another packed program. We tested it out in November.
Hmm.
Everybody survived it, and March might be a little bit nicer.
Yeah,
So,
no, it was next morning, waking up, going outside in November. It was truly horrible in Yarmouth that day.
yeah, it was it? It was very bitter. Yeah, icy, and the wind, of course. Yeah, a bit windy in Yarmouth. But no, hopefully March it will be on the turn by then. But if not, yeah, bring your hoodies.
All right, Adam, thank you so much. See you well, I'll see you probably at the next hamster occasion, actually. I'm
Yeah,
about.
8th of March,
February.
Silas's bunker, the Mayfair in Bungay, in the Bungay bunker, and a bit of racing, charity auction, and some nice surprises. So hopefully see you all guys there.